and welcome to Stampscaping 101. We're going to do a quick scene here. I've been gone for a few days, and when I'm gone for a few days and I don't stamp for a few days, it feels like a lot longer than it really has been. So we'll just do a very quick scene here. That's what I have in mind, at least. We have a piece of gold Stardream here. It has a little bit of a kind of an iridescent type of look to it, surface. I believe both sides are the same. Well, I don't know. One side looks a little bit more textured. See that? Than this side. I don't know if that's the case with all the Stardreams, but okay. So that being said, I find that all Stardreams are not equal in terms of how they accept ink. I mean, for the most part, a lot of them are, but I think some of the more kind of metallic-y ones, the silver, the bronze, the gold, I think they act a little bit differently than, say, the more iridescent ones like the blue lapis lazuli that I really love. All right, did I ink that up enough? Okay. I'm using the Seaside Cove Small. It's a stamp that I just used, fairly recently. I thought, well, it's still on the block, why don't we just do a scene with that? And someone did a scene with a couple on a beach, and I thought, oh, that'd be perfect for a very kind of tranquil type of setting. I've been wanting to do these. All my scenes that I do, I tend to go for kind of a real tranquil look to them, but I don't know. I don't know, with all the kind of the extreme weather events going on around the world and stuff, and some of our fellow stampers have been affected by that. So this is going out to them, or if you're in a, I don't know, flooding or kind of extreme heat type of thing, and if you don't have air in your crafting room or whatever, but you can sit down and enjoy a scene being made. This one goes out to you. Okay, now this is an island. I was hoping. Okay, don't stamp it like kind of above the horizon line. Make sure it's below the horizon line. On this one right here, it doesn't have to be on the horizon line. It could be below the horizon line too. Just don't make it above the horizon line. Otherwise, you'll have a little bit of a space in between, your aisles, and you'll have to kind of build it up a little bit, like I did in my last scene, which came out fine. In fact, it's kind of like one of those things that could become a technique for me to kind of to overstack, islands like this, like that, I mean, this is just on some matte paper, but see how that island like that, it looks like an island, but now you have kind of the depth of it, so who knows, or who knew, you can go like that. See that right there? It looks like one island, but it's like there's a depth to it. Now, I've lost a lot of my ink off that, but that's just an example. It looks like one island, but bigger, and you can put space and distance within the impressions. I don't know. That was pretty cool. A lot of the things that you learn in stamping come about by accident or kind of unintentional mark repairs. My best techniques, I mean, I still learn from all those types of things. So if you stamp something high, sometimes people's kind of inclination is to toss the piece. But I don't know, I've just learned that over the years that, kind of you're losing some of the potential by doing that and just kind of working with it and kind of repairing things. You can do your best work and come out with the best techniques as a result. Okay, I'm going to heat set this, and this is one of those things that I think helps a lot when you're dealing with pigment inks. Brilliance inks dry, and they dry fairly fast, but they dry a heck of a lot faster if you heat set them. Okay, now the more solid the image, the more ink there is on those, so naturally the aisles are going to have the most amount of ink. I've never heat set so much in my life, as much as the last, I don't know, maybe month? hasn't gone back too far, but kind of layering different applications of pigment ink have really taught me the whatever the benefit of heat setting. Okay, so white Brilliance ink. All right, let's go with one of the best ink applicators you'll ever come across, and that's just a cotton ball. For this purpose, at least, you know, I'm sure there's applications, you know, where I don't really use too much like dye inks on cotton ball. You know, the dye inks are so thin, but for pigment inks, it works really great, I find. Okay, so let's put some lighting on this. Ooh, that's a little bit too much. See, like that? I always tell people you have to kind of build up your lighting kind of slowly. See that? You can kind of move it around. Now, Brilliance inks are designed to dry, you know, on porous cardstocks, okay? Or non-porous cardstocks, I should say. So, I will allow it to dry in time, but it will be wet enough that I can manipulate it right now. Okay, kind of going into the waves here. I'm just going to put a line down the middle here, like a little bit of a kind of a lighting on some of these areas here. This cotton ball is really great for kind of general areas, of course. It's not great for the details, you know, working with something like that. Okay. What we want to work with is more kind of, see, you got to be a little bit careful. Not really, because you can spread it around, but see, I'm going with, think about like this ink on here being like a pencil or something like that, or a piece of charcoal, you know, using dry media. Okay, now you could use that on here too. You know, I can get a black, you know, colored pencil or something like that. But see this right here? I'm just going for a very thin application of it. Now you're saying, well, where do you put it? I'm kind of putting it like this, okay? Coming in from the side. And then see this right here? So I'm leaving some spaces in here. And when you have, you know, I'm doing it horizontally like this, not at an angle like this, but this is the natural direction of my hand. So see that, those spaces in there? It's important not to go like this. Okay, that's not what you want. You want more of a sweeping touch like that, okay? Some people say they have too heavy-handed. It's not really that you're too heavy-handed. It's just that you haven't removed enough ink. See, I can be real heavy-handed like this, and it's not as black as, you know, this, right? Okay? So be as heavy-handed as you want. I mean, don't be, you know, I wouldn't prefer it, but just take off a lot of ink to where, see that right there? It's just very light, okay? So that's always the kind of the control aspect of things. If you're getting too much ink applied, then just adjust the amount of ink that's on your applicator. Okay, it's really easy. But you just have to get used to kind of working in kind of smaller amounts, smaller applications. Smaller amounts of applications, the more repetition, okay? But it's not like it takes forever. And I've done this whole area right from here to here, and you know, it's just a few seconds. And I don't think it's like even been 1 minute. Now I've been talking forever, kind of explaining it, but I'll show you how fast it goes here. Okay, kind of working around some of my pieces in here. Now, I'm getting some areas that are not going on smoothly, okay? It happens to me too. But the thing that I do is I just keep working it. See, I just stay on that area, and I blend it out. All right, so see that right there? Look at this from one side to the next. See how much more depth there is. It's kind of subtle. It's not like huge, you know, but they're just very light shades of gray. Okay, let me just show you how fast this goes, okay? I'm going to ink this up. Okay. We'll dab it off a little bit. It's kind of distributing the ink around accordingly, or appropriately, whatever. Now I purposely smashed that side down so my tip's a little kind of wonky, as my kid would say. Alright, so remember to kind of leave a little bit streaky. Don't put it on everything. See, there's a streak right there. I'm just blending it in from the outside. Taking it down. See, it's a real strong streak, but I just keep blending it like so. You'll get used to it, you know. If you've never done this before, or never done it with this type of ink, or never done it with this type of applicator, you'll get the feel of it if you did like 2 or 3 of these things. Or you can just kind of practice going like that. It'll come around. It's really quite easy. And it's just about repetition. You just kind of stay in that area, you know, for a little while longer. You have to get used to just staying in this one area and just kind of repeating the streak. People want to work from top to bottom, so they go like this. Okay, but no, it's not like that. You just kind of stay like this and blend from the outside in, not from like top to bottom. All right? Okay, now let me go back to my cotton ball and get some areas down here. Kind of the perimeter like this. Okay, ooh, that was a lot of ink. I think I re-inked my black ink not too long ago. See that right there? I just blended in. Watch this. Way too much, right? Right there. Okay? You just take it. It gives you plenty of time. And you just blend it in, but look how beautifully that blends in right there. It's one of the things. It's pigment inks, you know, so they're thick inks, so they give you time, you know, to work with them. All right, see that right there? It's kind of a decent amount of perimeter. Now, what I'm going to do, watch this. Here's the thing that I do. This is what I do, like on, I don't know, I was going to say most of my scenes, okay? I have the perimeters kind of darker so that it gives the illusion of interior lighting, okay? So what do you do if you want to make this lighter? Well, you can apply white to it, but you can also make the areas around it darker so it looks lighter by contrast. So nothing's changing with the surface itself, only the perception of the viewer has changed because you've put some type of contrasting value next to it. So now we have these little streaky lights in here. Sky, you know, atmospheric types of things going on. And we have a varied surface in the sky now. And putting this little bit of a kind of a stain up there, making it a little bit darker, will have the stars stand out by contrast even more, you know, than just leaving it gold. Okay, so now it's kind of like a aged gold or something like that, tarnished. Okay, see that right up there? See what's going on up here is just kind of a wider version of what's going on in the water, like that. All right. I think I can, yeah, I'm taking a look at making my assessment here. I'm going to bottom weight this a little bit more visually, making it, you know, I'm weighting the bottom visually in terms of making it a little bit darker. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot, huh? guess you could take kind of a clean part and wipe it from the inside out like this too. Yeah, that wipes some of that black away from the interior out. First time I've done that. Okay, that works too. Alright. Alright, now let's get in here with some additional impressions. I need some little bit more contrast down here as well. Let's try, let me just try something. We can do this, any types of these things at any given time. Let me try a little bit of a white. Let me stamp these people first, because if I lay down this wax down here and I go for an impression, the impression's not going to stick on the wax. So, all right. Now we have this couple here. Yeah, just kind of walking out in the water, enjoying themselves. I'm going to wipe off some ink off their feet, okay? Maybe up to their knees or a little bit below their knees or something like that. I don't want it too deep for them. And walking out in the water like this. Let's go about like so. We'll make it really shallow looking, you know. Yeah, something like that. Going to enjoy a nice night stroll under the starlight together. All right, let me try this right here with the white pencil. I don't know if this is going to stick at all. Just barely. The paper doesn't have enough tooth to it, you know. So it just barely shows up. It's not bad for a base layer though, because it's barely applying. You can do practically anything you want, and it's not going to be obtrusive in terms of a mark because you can barely see it. Okay, I can just barely see it here. Let me try this other one. This is more of like a, yeah, this is more of like a, I don't know what this is. It's like a charcoal pencil or something like that. Now, I'm not inventing anything. I'm just going over the areas of the design that are lighter, okay? So I'm looking for lighter areas. But I also want it lighter in the middle, you know? So we can kind of have that light coming down kind of centrally. Lighter in the middle, darker on the sides. It just makes it easier because you wipe on the darkness from, you know, the sides like that and blend it in. So from a thematic kind of lighting standpoint, it works out, but from a technique standpoint and application, it just makes it easier to do. Okay, see that right there? It's kind of adding that little lighting into the piece. Okay. Kind of going and illuminating some of this area. You can just kind of wipe it off, you know, blend it in with your finger or whatever. This is like chalk right here, actually. So if you have a piece of chalk or something like that, go ahead and use that. The paper seems perfectly conducive for that. I know a lot of you have chalks in your supplies. You might even be able to apply some chalk on like a Q-tip or something. All right, so we have that. It's a little bit too light down here, isn't it? Let's take a little bit of a paper towel and kind of blend some of that out a little bit. And what I would do is I'd definitely spray seal this with like a workable fixative or something like that. Okay, now let's get some extra texture in here, okay? I'm going to take my tiny rocks small. And give this area down here a little bit of texture. Okay. I'm going for the multiple impressions. What you do is when you ink this up, it's darker, or it's the darkest it will be. So you stamp the dark areas in the darker portion of your card. And then when you go with multiple impressions, it's getting drier, and each impression gets lighter. So you stamp those lightest ones in the light, like that. All right, now in the darkest areas, those ones out there are standing out more. That's going to blend in because it looks lighter when that ink dries, okay? All right, so we have that, like so. See that right there? Darker in the darks, lighter impressions in the lights. Not exactly. I mean, there's a couple darker ones in there, but see how much depth you can achieve, from that look in the foreground. Okay, let's go for some foreground here. A little beach grass or something. So that, the reed's large, stamped like that, like that, a little bit lower, top, angled, okay? And I leave a little bit of an opening like that for the viewer to enter the scene from a visual standpoint. All right, now I'm contemplating the location of my word stamp. This says Starlight. And we'll do that in white. I don't think black would be appropriate for this scene or theme. I think about going and putting it right down there on the horizon and putting the stars up top. I can also, I don't know, actually. I think right there would be kind of interesting, right kind of inside, and I put some stars, like a constellation. Let's try that. I think I think it's pretty cool on the horizon, but I have that aisle right there, so there's not like this definitive line to set it on. So let's go with something else in terms of placement. Okay, now I'm using the Brilliance white again. This will dry just fine on here. I was kind of surprised. I tried a dye-based black on Stardream. Now, I used to use that with a certain color of Stardream, and it seemed to work out okay, but I don't know, these darker ones, I don't find that the dye-based inks penetrate enough into the paper to leave, a good distinctive impression. All right, so we have that. About like so. It kind of looks weird, kind of off to the side like that. But I have, those stars that we're going to put in here. So we have a pretty decently complete composition right here. I mean, this scene's going by pretty fast. And I was just kind of developing technique here too. If I have it down, I'll know what to do, in terms of like that chalk pencil. I just try to, I don't know if I needed to heat set there because I'm going to be working up here. Like this area up here is not all wet, but like those impressions down there might be a little bit. And certainly that starlight. Yeah, you can smudge certain images and whatnot in some areas, but it's not good to smudge typography, lettering like that. Okay, So let's take some glue here. I just find it's easier for me to apply this glue kind of by hand as opposed to putting a drop down there. I don't know, maybe, let me see if this, see sometimes when I go like this, I pull it up and it's got this long string kind of going, this glue string, or whatever, I don't know, whatever you call it. And then I go like this and then it leaves this streak of glue. I don't know, this glue is just so thick. I don't know if it's always like that, but it's probably like 20 years old. I hardly ever glue anything. If you watch my, I don't know, like first 600 videos, I don't know if I glue anything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe first 750 videos. All right, I'm getting that little glue string here now. That's what I said. I'm trying to avoid by doing it this way. Maybe I put too much glue down. Okay, so there's one. I don't know what constellation I'll do. Okay, now watch this. I'm placing some of these stars kind of closer together. I got one of those old tags there. But kind of vary your kind of star placement. You know, cluster, you know, some together here and there. Kind of go a little bit more. I wouldn't say random, but definitely varied. I'm leaving a pretty good bead of, oops, there I did what I said I tried to avoid. I'm putting a pretty good bead of glue here, concentrating on what I'm doing. Because sometimes if you don't put enough, that little crystal, I don't know, it'll fall off. Now what I would do is if I would send this to someone, I'm putting it in an envelope, you know, one of those little clear viewing, you know, envelopes, super clear envelopes. All right, here's my crystals. These are really fun to work with. They come in just all kinds of different sizes. I don't think I want to go any too big. This is my crystal, I don't know, whatever, picker, gem picker. All right. It just has a little bit of a rubber tip on it. And it's really good for the real small sizes. But all right, so just laying down like so. Those are a couple really, you know, 3 really big ones here, but look at that. All right, now, I don't think I'll go for like super huge focal point one, but let's fill in with some smaller ones here. Smaller ones get quite a bit of attention too. Sometimes you put your gem picker in the gems and it picks up several. It's like playing not quite, but I feel like I'm doing that game Operation, you know, putting that little tweezer down and placing our little things here. Let me see, I think these ones are the smallest. There's a lot of different sizes in here. I think a couple of them are the same size. I'm not sure. I put way too much glue for some of these real dinky ones, but that's all right. The glue can become part of the three-dimensional aspect of it, maybe. So you kind of put a couple of them really close together. Let's see, I need to push those ones down a little bit. Let's just use the back of the gem picker cap here. Like squishing it down into a mound of glue. I can feel these ones up here are already, they seem to already be setting in. The ones that are floating here that I just put down are a little bit wiggly. No, I just went like that again. I can feel it kind of firming up. It's not fast drying glue or anything. But I think that'll be fine. But look at that. I don't know. I just think that's kind of fun. I guess, too, one of the things that we can do is, I have my white paint pen here. You can do some additional stars that are not, you know, gems. You could have even done some splatter painting with the bleed-proof white, perhaps. But let's go ahead and put, you know, a few little stars up here. So we'll get some variation with some of these stars. You know, some of these are more distant and less sparkly, maybe. All right. Let's go here. Who knows? Maybe one of these is Jupiter or something like that. You put a couple little moons around Jupiter. All right, now I'm going to put some highlights down my water. So I kind of put a few more in the lighter area, then I kind of taper it off in the distance. Okay. These little, I'll hold this up and you can see, but I think these little specular light reflections really do influence the overall kind of feel, the emotional quality of a card or of a scene. See something like that? Doesn't that change the spirit of it? It kind of stands out strongly, but you hold it at arm's distance and it looks like that. Look at these little stars up here, how fun those are. And it takes on a different kind of a tone, you know, depending on kind of the angle to the light that you are viewing them in. Look at that, you can't even see the white stars like that, right? Then you go like that and it's like a different time of day or something. Or night. Starlight right there, but here's these little twinkles. I suppose you could put, you know, a couple of these real small ones, you know, kind of shining in the water too. I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. All right. So let's format this into a card. I think a little bit of a border of some sort. I'm thinking white and maybe, I don't know, maybe some metallic gold, something like that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. All right. We have a little bit of a white border here. It's a little bit of an iridescent white. You can't really tell. You could just use a plain piece of white. And then I could have went the opposite direction of this mirrored gold border, but I thought, let's just bling it out. You know, I was thinking if I gave this card or something similar to some kid, you know, they would, you know, like that kind of mirrored aspect of it and that twinkly little thing. But kind of a black muted side would probably bring more attention to the stars and whatnot. And it would also match the black on here. But I thought, let's just go with the mirrored one. I guess you could put another, you know, border around this too, or you can put this. This is like a postcard, but you can format it into a card and have it, you know, have that other black type of. aspect to tie in with the impressions here. It's more, those impressions are more like a, I would say it's probably like a 75% gray, or something like that. Not completely black, but again, these types of papers like this, the reflective types like that, you can't even see the starlight quote, but then move it into the dark, and look at those stars kind of twinkle like that. And it just makes for kind of a really fun type of surface like that. See, like the how that looks like that, and you turn it in these directions like that. It really changes the character, the nature of the piece. And look at those stars like that, twinkling kind of across the sky, depending on the angle. All right, again, it's pretty fun stuff. I don't know, it might be a little bit too white in some of these areas. I think it would benefit from a little bit of additional shading in here. It's probably a little bit too dark. Oh, I wasn't going to do that, but let's try it here. I should probably take a kind of a black pen or something like that. Let's just grab a little bit more of this black pigment ink and just kind of do some fine tuning at this point in time. What I'm doing is I'm kind of going in and kind of differentiating some of these areas than just a white haze all around. And this kind of goes in and breaks it up a little bit. And it kind of defines the waves a little bit, gives them a little bit more depth. Again, I'm going for kind of a nice, smooth, kind of light and subtle application of this. So if I get too much on, you just kind of just work it in, just blend it in, I guess. Maybe the couple is casting a little bit of a shadow, so I can put a little bit of a shadow kind of underneath them. I'm even tinting some of those little white dots, You can put a little bit of ink on some of those white dots if they're kind of a little bit too bright and light and strong. You can go and kind of, just tone them out a little bit. So they're still there. You can still see them, but they're not quite as white. They might be, some version of gray or something. So you get gray dots and white dots, and that too gives you a little bit more textural visual depth. Having variations within the highlights themselves instead of all the highlights being the same value. Okay, so that's a little bit better, I think. All right, yeah, that looks better, huh? See, what I did was it came across right in here. So it's not just this big glowing area, and then down here, here, and here. If you watch my videos, you hear this kind of me talking about the oscillation of light and dark. So it goes, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Going from top to bottom like that. All right, so anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you liked the scene, techniques, and all that these little embellishments and whatnot. If you enjoy these videos, hope you like, share, and subscribe. Thanks as always for tuning into the channel.